Thanks for tuning in to That's What I Call Marketing, the Cannes Sessions. Brought to you by Friedman International, the international campaign experts taking the pain out of your multi-market campaigns. Welcome to That's What I Call Marketing, the podcast where you will hear from the leading lights in the marketing world and listen to their unique insights. Well, today is another episode of the Cannes Sessions, and I am joined today by Matt Herbert, who is one of the co-founders of Tracksuit. Now, as you are fully aware, Tracksuit are kind of blowing up the whole brand tracking scene, and they have definitely disrupted the market, and they're just making it more accessible for more brands to do brand tracking on an always on way. So I'm a big fan of Tracksuit, and I think it's a really wonderful product, and I am really fascinated by their growth story. They're backed by amazing people, the likes of Mark Ritson, James Herman. So really kind of sound backing, people that understand marketing, understand branding, understand measurement, and are bringing this to more and more brands. Of course, you know that Tracksuit recently got their Series B funding, and that is going to help them accelerate into more and more markets. And that's what I'm talking to Matt about today, a bit about the importance of brand tracking, what he was seeing, hearing at Cannes, talking to brands, what they are seeing, hearing, talking to investors about the importance of this, and what their plans are for the future with this investment. Of course, international marketing is going to be a part of it, and that was a huge part of our conversation. And of course, if you're thinking about international marketing, there really is only one place to go, and that is Friedman International, who take the pain away from your international campaigns, and they are our partner in these Cannes sessions. So thanks so much to Friedman International. If you're enjoying That's What I Call Marketing and can rate or review any of the episodes that you're listening, even this one, it really does help us reach even more amazing marketers just like you. So genuinely appreciate if you can do that, or share the episode with someone who you think might be interested in hearing what we have to say today. So let's get right into it with the episode with Matt Herbert, co-founder at Tracksuit. Matt, thanks a million for joining me on That's What I Call Marketing. Great to see you.
Hey, great to see you too, Connie. You're my favourite Irishman in the south of France. We met last year, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We had a quick coffee last year, early one morning. This is the Friday morning of Cannes, and so I do apologise for dragging you out. Not too early, but in fairness, you're looking good on it.
Yeah, hey, look, I've been very well behaved this week. I think there's a few of the team who are still tucked up in bed, but I called it early every night, so I'm feeling all right.
Yeah, you kind of have to, because, you know, the late nights, early starts just don't work.
I mean, as you said, there's all sorts of different ways of doing Cannes, and
yeah.
I'll keep mine quite under wraps.
Listen, we'll talk about some of the stuff you've been talking about during the week with people, but first of all, it's been an amazing couple of weeks in the sense that you just announced your next round of funding, Series B. Tell me a bit about kind of maybe that process to get to that, because it doesn't, like, all the announcements happen real quickly, but then I guess it's a long old road to get there.
Yeah, that's right. You say the last couple of weeks. I think the last couple of months. It's, you know, I mean, we founded Tracksuit 4 years ago, and it was all around how do we really make brand tracking accessible, get brand back in the boardroom, and really balance out this performance and brand, a hot topic of conversation this week as always. And over the last 4 years, we've scaled to now working with over 1,000 customers and agency partners. We're in 4 markets, or 4 offices: London, New York, Sydney, and Auckland, and back in New Zealand. And to see the Series B, it's the lead is VMG, a fantastic consumer fund out of San Francisco, and they have decades of experience, scaling consumer brands, and some of the best in the US. And for us, that's who we're building for, and so to have them in, as well as all our investors carry on and give us that support, just allows us to do a few more things this year.
And probably without getting into too much of the detail, obviously, the plan is to grow and scale, and you've got some kind of, as you say, some core markets that you're building out of, UK being one, US being another.
Ireland with you at the end of last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. US is such an interesting market because it's bloody huge. Right? And it's like, you think about any bands that try crack America, it's like, it's hard because it's such scale.
Yeah.
Are you focusing in certain regions to try win, kind of have those ways to win, I guess?
Yeah, my co-founder Connor and I, we've worked at previous companies that have had a crack at taking on the US, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge and opportunity for a lot of New Zealand and Australian businesses scaling. You look at the big markets, and obviously the US is one of the biggest ones and really attractive. We were very intentional, probably because of a few scars from previous efforts, to say we do not want to scale internationally until we have basically our shit sorted.
Yeah.
And so for us, that meant we were lucky and fortunate that our customers in Australia and New Zealand, I mean, shout out to Bondi Sands, one that I really recall. Bondi Sands are in the skincare and tanning and beauty industry. They said, hey, Tracksuit, we've got big business in Australia, but we need you in the US and the UK.
Okay.
And we waited until we had kind of 10 to 15 of the customers saying, guys, we need you in these other markets. And so we were able to go into the US already with a customer group. We didn't put people on the grounds into the US until after 18 months.
Okay.
And we got to a threshold of customers. Roughly, we look at who are our first 50 customers and where's the first million coming from. That gives us confidence in a single to say, hey, look, there's something here, there's product market fit. We've taken some time to really figure out the nuances in the markets and the differences. And so it's only been 18 months. We've had the team growing in the US, and last year growing at 230% year on year, and in the UK, a fast follower behind that. So being intentional with the way that we scale out. We have those main offices, but we service and we can support kind of any market, and that's where Europe and Asia and the rest of the world starts to come in, because we want to be a global business, but it's just intentional about the way that we scale.
So a big part of the work is not just kind of purely on the brand side, but also you're doing a lot of work with agencies.
Yeah, I mean, agencies for us are an industry and a partner we really want to champion. I mean, a lot of us and the founding business come from the world of strategy, planning, and agencies, and we really want to see Tracksuit show up and facilitate and support our agency partners. And we kind of see this as what we can help with is category information, the client brand information, the competitor set. Yeah. I mean, there's always a 4x4 creative matrix that a lot of agencies use, and so we plug into that and enable the agency and the client to have a better conversation, buy in, execute, measure the impacts, see the results, build the confidence, be able to take that back to the business, and I think we're going to see more work that works. But agencies and brands, that's who we're here for.
And when you think about the platform as well, what's great is you can start to dig in where the problem is, right? So you might have massive awareness. 90% of people are aware of your product, but it's when you get into kind of through kind of preference or investigation or whatever the metrics are, that you can go, oh, we don't have a problem here, right? So we need to make sure we maintain that, but then dig in, because our problem is moving people from here to here.
Well, I mean, I'd love to the opportunity to sit down with the Airbnb team and whoever their agency is, because they've done a fantastic job at building. This is what we see in the data anyway. Fantastic job at building awareness. They drop off quite considerably down to consideration against a Hilton or a Marriott. And a lot of the reasons that we can see what drives consideration is trust and being the first place that people go to book accommodation. And so, what are you putting out into the world? And if you're really going to drive, you need to be showing up for what the category needs, what's relevant to your brands, but, digging in opportunities to do, better work, shift the needle. Otherwise, you might be going down the wrong path. Yeah,
exactly. You go, well, but let's make sure more people are aware of what we're doing. And it's but no, people don't trust you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fundamental issue.
And that's right. It's what is the creative, what is the comms, what is the positioning that you're putting out? And if you keep putting the same messaging out and it's not what people are looking for from your brands, you're not going to see the results, and you wonder why it's not working. And so, that's just some of those small things that we really want to try to help out with.
Yeah. You've kind of been around this week, both you and Connor, speaking at different things, presenting, paneling, meeting people. I guess from any speaking things you've done, what have you been talking to people about? What do you think needed to hear?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to sit down with a panel, and on there was Jackie from Hinge, was Laurie from Elf Beauty, was Jana from W Promote, and James Herman as well. We kind of sat down and said, I mean, there's so many ways that people talk about what is a brand, what is marketing. And everybody, I think, has overcomplicated it, or everybody's got their own nuances. And it was just, nice to hear a couple of conversations this week around. It doesn't matter what everybody's opinion on. There are some just fundamental basics around what marketing and brand needs to do. But we can talk around it and can. But what does the rest of the business understand?
Yeah.
I mean, you now with, and this is what you do every single day, right? It's like, how do you communicate to the rest of the business, as opposed to sitting here and looking around and, the advertising, creative, agency, market, like, we all kind of get it.
Yeah.
People are arguing about it or debating about it this week, but that's not who we need to be having the conversation with.
Yeah.
It's everybody else in the business. It's people that have no idea what Can is about.
Yeah.
What's the conversations that you're having?
Yeah, and do you know what? It's been so brilliant, and I'm so lucky where I am, because I have a leadership team that I work with, and even beyond the levels I work with, within the business, that fundamentally get and understand the role of marketing, first of all, the role of brand. And so even this week, my boss will be on to me going, so what are you hearing? Like, what are people talking about? Like just that deep curiosity and interest. So I'm maybe just blessed in that sense, because I don't know if everyone has that. Like, she's really curious to know, what are people talking about? What do people care about? I'm sending through some of the winners and case studies, and again, looking at things that are helping shift, not just because we don't necessarily have an awareness issue with our brand, or we need to grow in other areas. But sending through case studies that I've said, this is an amazing example of a brand that have done these three things, that I'm not saying we do what they did, but it inspires that creative thinking. So for me, I'm very, very lucky. Having said that, the conversation, is always about how do we balance brand and performance marketing. Like, that is just fundamentally the conversation everyone's having.
That's the main job to be done. For
Yeah.
marketing. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, sell to the people who are ready for you, and then continue to build up those who are going to need insurance or shoes or whatever it is. Continue to build familiarity and relevance, and when they need to buy, who are they going to buy from, and that's your job. And if I can actually shout out, Laura, the CMO of Instacart, did a great piece on Monday talking about the 3-year journey that they've been on at Instacart. And what you talked about right there is you've got great buy-in from leadership around the importance of brand and marketing and how this all works. And I think the majority of people who are here and can have that.
Right. Yeah.
And then I sit there and go, but what if your leadership has no idea?
Yeah.
What's the journey that you need to go on? And Laura from Instacart 3 years ago was saying, we only had performance budget. Brand was never talked about. And 3 years later, they're doing Super Bowl ads and have creative platforms and are doing both fantastic bottom of funnel marketing. They've moved to a full funnel approach. They're not splitting it out, the way their team's structured. And it gave real practical examples about the 3 years that Laura's been on at Instacart.
Wow.
And so if people need case studies, I highly, highly recommend looking at what she's been able to achieve.
I'll have to dig that one out as well, because it's always a journey, right? You can't assume just because the CEO wants access to the data that it's, because the business decisions are hard. And that's, I've talked to, Mark and V, who from the Stephen Barber podcast, and we've all talked about it going, this is all wonderful, but when the rubber hits the road and the shit hits the fan,
as it often does,
decisions, but having the data, we all talk about having the data is important, but it bloody is. Like, right, you need to have the right information.
Yeah, you have the right information, understand the so what, but also I think there is an onus on marketing and brand teams and agencies to understand what is the C-suite, what is the finance team. You actually have to understand other people's industries.
Yeah.
Because I hear a lot of the time, hey, marketers I need to convince my CFO.
Yeah.
It's not convincing, right? It's like I hear that term. It's like, how do you influence mutually? Like, as a marketer, do you know what the CFO cares about?
Yeah.
Can you speak the CFO's language? Do you know what the CEO wants to know? And that's where it's not a one-way thing.
Yeah.
And so it's not, I need to convince, I need to market for the sake of it.
Yes,
marketing, sorry.
Yeah.
it's a two-way thing.
100%. Johnny Cahill, who I spoke to before, he's now with PepsiCo, and he's talked about that, and he's talked about the fact that like all CFOs, they're not just this group of people that act the same way, right? So that's the first thing, but also exactly what you've just said is you have to go in and go, okay, what are the things that you're caring about? Because here's the things I care about. How can we find a way for those worlds to meet, collide, and work together? And
I gotta say, they're our team at Tracksuit, a bit of tongue in cheek, but have made a chat GPT. I think you can get it on the website, which translates marketing speak and asks into CFO language. I mean, I don't know how deep it goes, but it's just an intention to your right. Every CFO is different. You have to build the relationship. You have to understand what they're doing. But if you can find simple and easy ways and have a bit of a laugh with each other to build that relationship, stay close, you're going to get a whole lot more buy-in.
Yeah. That's a great. We have to get the Instacart CMO on here, and Elf Beauty. I think you've probably heard about my obsession with Elf Beauty. It's terrifying.
Elf. To be fair, Corey, we were down at, there was another podcast recording, and Scott Galloway, Rory Sutherland, and Corey, who's the CMO at Elf. She was phenomenal.
Yeah, isn't she?
She is phenomenal. Just sat there, ex-Hermes, now at Elf, has this vast lived experiences and pure examples about what have we done, how have we done it, and I think everybody gave a standing applause for the way that she just elevated and lifted up, but also stayed really, really grounded in how she talked about what they've been doing.
It's amazing. The Tracksuit brand. What's interesting, I guess in the space you're in is you're building a brand. A lot of maybe B2B companies don't think about building a brand. Now, it might make sense. People like you're in the brand building, you're working with brand marketers, but it's another very intentional thing that you said about ensuring that the Tracksuit brand, had salience, all the right things.
That's right. Brand for us from the start, brand is everything we put out into the world. A lot of that came from from James Herman and the importance, and we said we want to be the epitome of what we're teaching, what we're supporting, but brand is everything we put out into the world, whether it's the way we show up at conferences, whether it's the way we build our products, whether it's the way we work with our customers, whether it's the way that we send tracksuits out to our early customers. It's not just one or two things. It is the whole holistic way that we show up, and it's so important.
Yeah, and another part I think of your story that I observe is the culture. So as companies grow, scale, maintaining the culture, getting the right people in is hard because there also comes a point where you need people quickly. Mm-hmm. But you seem to have done an amazing job, both you and Connor, of really making sure that the people that come in are a really good cultural fit.
Well, I mean, thank you for that observation. It is something that we're incredibly proud of. Whether you're running a software business, a services business, whether you're in the world of AI, it's still people, right?
Yeah.
It's still people are the most important part. And there were two things, looking back on the culture, that I'm really proud that we did. One was a book called Traction by the Entrepreneur Operating System. And one of the things I took out with that was the importance of really identifying what your core values are going to be. And sometimes people talk about values, it might be a bit of naff or a bit of fluff. But Connor, Hamish, Michaela and myself did a whiteboard session, and we looked around and said, we have an opportunity to build the type of company that we want. How are we going to live and breathe? How are we going to hire? How are we going to hold ourselves to account? How are we going to be able to show up every day? And we must have 25 core values on the whiteboard. And we looked around and said, is that really something that you can say is true to who you are? And we just started crossing them off.
Okay.
And some of them were like, they're probably really good values that you should have. And we got down to 5. And those remain our values and our operating principles. It's how we hire, it's how we reward, it's how we hold each other to account. So Traction, the entrepreneur operating system, and getting our values right. And then also, shout out to my dad, who's had a career in team leadership and culture and team performance. And with his system, Team Alchemy system in Belbin, where we go, every person that joins Tracksuit does a self-assessment,
Okay.
and also an objective assessment where, who do you think you are in a team?
Yeah.
How do you operate? And then you'll get a whole lot of people that say, what do I actually think Connor's like in a team? And in every team, you've got different roles to play. What we found in the early days, we had a whole lot of us who were very, very similar.
Okay.
Very, outgoing, lots of ideas, but we didn't have enough what was called, completer finishes, just to get in there,
Right.
cross the T's, dot the
yeah.
I's. And so that's where we said, what do we need to build out the team to have the strengths across the board that balance each other out? And so those two things, we've got 160 people now, and they're still something that we look at across all the time zones in the world that we need to cover now.
Yeah, which is a lot. So how do you manage that?
We haven't figured it out. We have not figured it out. If anybody knows how to run international businesses in office, plus, Auckland time zone, Sydney time zone, New York. If we get it right, and when we get it right, we can operate 24/7.
Yeah.
But we haven't got it right.
It's hard. It is so hard. And a previous role I had, people in Sydney, people in Mexico. I was in Dublin, and you want to do I remember we'd doing a meeting.
Did you ever figure it out?
No, no. Do you know what? No, I didn't figure it out, because I was like, okay, we need to have an all-team meeting, and so it was 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. for somebody. It's 11 o'clock at night for somebody else, and we tried it a few times, and then people were just which I was really grateful. People came and said, look, this isn't working for me. I can't sustain this. And it wasn't every week. It was maybe once every 6 or 8 weeks. So what we did then was we had to split it up. We had to split it up into time zones that made sense, and then find more online ways of collaborating and sharing. And I cared a lot about sharing the information, right? And kind of making sure that if somebody in Brazil was doing something that they thought was good, someone in Australia wasn't, if they had the same idea, weren't recreating it all, right? So we had to find ways of sharing. It's hard.
When you're in Dublin, you're not thinking about what's happening in Bondi Beach in Sydney.
I
and
do
vice
often,
versa.
though.
Actually, if you're in Dublin, you probably are.
That's all I'm thinking about.
That's why there's so many Irish out on the eastern seaboard of Australia. It's probably the wrong example, isn't it? But that context about walking the street. If you're in New York, walking the street or sniffing the streets, and it's all very different. You don't get that everywhere.
Yeah, you don't. That's a special experience on your way to work. You get high. What the fuck? But it is, and you're right. And then it's how you then unlock the things that matter in markets, right? So that's the thing, is you're growing, scaling, and you've talked about France, Germany, other international markets. You'll hear a lot of things about, this is different, that's different. How are you starting to manage those bits and extract the things that really matter?
Totally. That's just time and market.
Right.
Time and market. Going in with our customers, looking at where the demand is, spending time. Looking now as we get into Europe, no doubt I'll be on the Eurostar a little more heading over. But it's really important. And then putting core teams in, getting the local influence. I think also something that a lot of businesses will do is it's easy to hire people like yourselves.
Yeah.
So even if you're Irish or Scottish and you're going to go and gravitate to the people, and that's good. It's good to get that early confidence.
Yeah.
Like in New York, our first three were 2 Australians and a Kiwi.
Okay.
No other American is taking a bet on this weird small New Zealand business, right? When they've got plenty of other opportunities, but very quickly making sure that we have that mix that is representative of what the US, representative of the market that we're in, that has that mix of local balance, but also, some of the older team at Tracksuit that have the values and the way we show up.
Yeah.
But when we do open markets, we don't have an office in France, but France will be very distinctive to France and to the French and how we need to operate. But it will have an underlying, this is Tracksuit.
Yeah.
And we know that this is Tracksuit, but New York, London, Sydney, Melbourne, they're all distinct in their own ways.
Yeah, and even getting down to the complexities of localization and transcreation, they're all things that you now have to figure out.
Yeah, definitely. We've got the technology and the software in the back end where we can open up, any market, and translation is not that difficult anymore, but it's being intentional about the experience, who we work with, how we scale out. And so that's all going to be fun as we move out into some other markets.
Yeah, fun, and it's an incredible journey, but how do you, because the busyness of it as well, like it's non-stop, like you're always doing lots of stuff. And I chatted to you about this last year, and I chatted to Connor about it before. How do you mind yourselves and what's going on? Because you're building something and you're responsible, and for, as you say, 160 people now, which is very different to when you started as 4, right?
Oh, I mean, honestly, last year was really tough. I think Connor and I, we both were on quite stages of burnout throughout the year.
Yeah.
And I think that was, different, moving different cities, moving different markets, the expansion, just the always thinking about, I think, when you're in a founder role or you're across, you're always seeing something that could be going better.
Right, yeah.
There's a fire over there, we could be doing that, where's the standards going? And you're just constantly on. I think that definitely took its toll on both of us last year. I mean, we also had time zones and Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, and so, for us, we actually took a couple of days away earlier in the year just to get off at Waiheke Island in Auckland, a beautiful place to just go and, like, man, how you doing?
Okay.
And what does this year look like? What are our roles? What are our responsibilities? How do we make sure that our communication and our banter is still there, that we're not just getting into the details all the time.
Yeah.
And that's had a huge impact. And so, to the question around always being on, I think for the team and for the way we lead, like this really, it's a triangle of start with connection, always be able to connect. Then you're able to be really clear about what's important, and you're also able to have those courageous conversations.
Okay.
And so that's a framework over the last 12 months or so, or probably 6 months this year, which is we just got to keep connecting.
Okay.
Because there'll always be a job to do. So that's helping.
It's amazing. I mean, it's such a phenomenal rocket ship, I call it, and I'm probably not the only one, but it's but that's with speed, right? You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to, you need to make sure you balance everything, and then, you look like you enjoy it though as well. Like you do love it, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, we get to work with the best brands, the best people at those brands, the best agencies. We're in the creative industries. I mean, we get to have a bit of fun along the way. One thing I think about a lot more right now is, we're in the world of market research. Who ever grows up saying, I want to work in the world of market research? You're not at school or at university and they're saying, hey, look, have you thought about a world in data science or research? But like, how do we change that? Because it's such an important part, but we can also have a little bit of fun along the way. And I'm excited about the role that we can play in terms of just, elevating kind of the industry and the role that we can play in, so that, hopefully in 5-10 years, people say, how did you get it? I've always wanted to work in research. Yeah,
but but you're right, because it doesn't seem like the sexiest thing, but actually here's a product that's making, you know what I mean, and working in a category and industry. I think it's amazing. It's amazing.
That's right.
Listen, thanks a million. Appreciate you stopping by and having a chat, and continued success. We'll be on one of the dinghies next year.
If anybody, no, we're not even going to say. I don't think the yacht's for us. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
This
we
week,
could, but we don't want it.
This week was the first time that we actually brought some of the team down. We've got 12 people.
Yeah.
We've got 12 people up in a villa, and that might sound very nice, but everybody is sharing double rooms with single beds.
Yeah.
Except for me, I actually had the palatial suite. So.
Did you?
Yeah, it was actually I know Connor's not very happy with me. We don't need to put that in. No, hey. Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for cheers.
Well, it was great to sit down with Matt, and to be fair, it was worth noting that it was the last day of camp, Friday morning, which is a terrible time to ask anybody to sit down and chat to you, but Matt was well up for it. So really, really appreciate that, and it is going to be really interesting to see how Tracksuit think about the structure and, again, the marketing and how they go about growing their B2B brand in international markets as they have those expansion. Like, they're available. I mean, they have the technology to be available in so many places. They're very intentional about where they go. obviously this investment that they have is going to help them accelerate their international expansion and growth. So really, really interested to see that. And of course, they probably need to get in touch with Freeman International if they're thinking about international marketing campaigns. Without the pain, Freeman International is definitely the right partner for them for that. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you do want to check out Tracksuit, go to gotracksuit.com, and I'm more than happy to introduce you to the guys there if you would like that as well. As always, thanks so much to Freeman International for their partnership with these Can Session episodes. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please do rate, review, leave a comment, subscribe, share. One or all of these things really helps us just in terms of growing our audience and reaching more amazing marketers just like you. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I really do appreciate it every time you tune in. For me, until the next episode, take care. Thanks for tuning in to That's What I Call Marketing, the Can Sessions. Brought to you by Freeman International, the international campaign experts taking the pain out of your multi-market campaigns.